Justice and peace to each and every one of you. This is your servant, Hubba Man Cop, the world's top cop with news uncuffed. I'm going to get right to it here in America, in New York. Jose Alba, a clerk for a business store, gets into an altercation with a customer who happens to be a female and has her child with her. She goes inside the store to purchase some chips and maybe something else, but nevertheless, when she attempts to pay for it, this clerk, Mr. Alba, tries to tell the customer that the transaction is not going through. Now, while he's engaging in the conversation with the customer, you can see on the video that Mr. Alba is not conducting himself as a professional for that business establishment the way he was talking to that customer. Now, it poses me to ask this question. Was this customer a criminal or was she a customer? Because Alba treated the customer as if she was a criminal. And should a business employee treat a customer the way Alba was talking to the lady at this store in front of the child? Mr. Alba not only conducted himself in an unprofessional way, but the way he spoke and he cursed at the woman in front of the child who was with the mother in that store. So now the question is, what caused all of this for the girlfriend who then spoke to the boyfriend, Mr. Simon, who then came into the store and ended up killed by Alba? So who started all of this? It was the clerk, Jose Alba. Every day in America, customers have attitudes and present themselves in ways that is not in the liking of many business establishments. But no employee for any business are trained nor are given the right to curse, yell, and act violently towards a customer, because that employee will end up without a job. But this individual person, Jose Alba, took it upon himself to curse, yell, throw the card back on the counter to the customer, and the customer, who was the female, should have left that store and never returned to that store and left it at that. But it was so unprofessional and his aggression was so violent that the woman had to tell her boyfriend. So the boyfriend comes in the store rightfully to talk to Mr. Alba. But the mistake that Simon, the 35-year-old, did was to go behind the counter, and because he went behind the counter, he engaged from an altercation verbally to something physical and pushed Alba. And the push went to him grabbing on Alba. But we have a law to deal with these type of problems and this kind of aggression. So Alba took it upon himself to grab something in his self-defense, and it happened to be a knife. Now the question is, did Mr. Simon go behind that counter with a weapon? No, he did not. Did Mr. Simon go behind that counter to take money or any of the merchandise behind that counter? No, he did not. Well, why did Simon go behind that counter to engage and confront the violent clerk who spoke aggressively, disrespectfully, and violently to the customer and the child who was present to hear the conduct of this violent clerk, Jose Alba, that caused this to end up with Mr. Simon being stabbed multiple times and lost his life? And now the question is, does a clerk or business employee or business establishment have the right to kill a customer, to cuss and swear at children and customers, and get away scot-free under the guidelines of self-defense? And does self-defense require deadly force to meet with no deadly weapon or force towards the individual? And the other question is, among other questions, could this have been avoided if Mr. Alba, if he thought that he was so in a place where his life was threatened, why did he have the entrance and exit to the counter where he was placed, the door being open? And why did he speak in a manner to cause an escalation to start from a verbal to a violent altercation that he started, that he should have prevented? And if he thought that it would have led to something more, why did he not call to contact the police to come to that location to deal with the situation? And the question is, why did the girlfriend, the customer, did not call the police if she thought something was wrong towards her by the actions of Mr. Alba, to have something documented against what Alba did to her as the customer? And why did she not call the business establishment? I'm sure there's an office for her to call to notify them of the manner and the disrespect of that clerk who was working at that time and conducted himself in a manner towards her. There are so many other avenues that could have, or avenues, shall I say, that could have been taken in a better way, but it ended up in a manner with Simon being murdered and stabbed, and he had no weapon. He had aggression. He was stabbed in the neck. If you stab someone, do you stab them and multiple times in an area, in the neck, in the body, because of an altercation verbally on something that you caused? And I say, if Mr. Simon, the girlfriend, the business establishment, has strategic security CSI security consulting for the business, if citizens like Simon, who is still a citizen, who was no longer in prison or in jail, has a life to live, and the girlfriend had CPIIA, Citizens and Police Immediate Interactive Assistance, to guide them in issues like this for the business and for the citizen, the business would not be blasted in a way all over the world for a clerk who decided to take actions the way he decided to take it, that caused the escalation to lead to him physically murdering and stabbing a customer and the customer's relationship with that man, Simon, who ended up dead because of the actions of that clerk. Both the citizen and the business would have lived and conducted another manner in another better way with CPIIA, Strategic Security CSI, both, one for the business and one for the citizens. It would have not ended with the life of Mr. Simon dead on the ground at a business, and the girlfriend had to witness the bloodshed, the murder, the killing of a man whose rage verbally went to rage physically and caused the death of Mr. Simon. And Jose Alba should be charged with murder and sent to prison for his violent, verbal, and physical aggression inside that store as a clerk. Put the cuffs on him and put him in prison.